Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Asian Psycho, aka ToeSniper98, and in this episode of In Depth, we'll be talking about the machine guns. So let's get started. As a general overview to machine guns and combat arms, MGs have been seen as, you could say, the ugly ducklings of the combat arms arsenal. No one really likes to use them because mainly for the fact that, they just feel really heavy. You don't have that portability that you have as, say, with a submachine gun, even though the machine guns themselves have a lot of pros to them. So we'll be analyzing each and every aspect of these machine guns and see if combined together if they're really worth not really using or using. We're going to disprove or back up the notion that machine guns are rather kind of useless outside a fire team. So first we'll be digging into machine gun statistics, starting with the 5 statistics that Nexon gives us. First of all, the damage. The damage for machine guns varies greatly, and this is one of the strong sides of machine guns, is that all machine guns have very strong power. No machine gun in combat arms has less than a 40 damage rating. The weakest would be among the K3, the Mini-Me, other GP machine guns like that, and the strongest being, incidentally, another GP machine gun by the name of the M2 Browning. But the average damage rating, I would say, would have to be anywhere between 47 to around 49. The 49 damage rating is very, very common amongst NX standard machine guns, such as the RPK-74, the MG36M21E, and for GP machine guns, it varies quite a lot because the M2 Browning is available for GP, and it is currently the strongest machine gun in combat arms at a damage rating of 53. Whereas, you've got the Mini-Me, the K3, that have barely even 40 damage rating. So, the damage spectrum varies quite a bit. It's not as wide as, say, like the assault rifles, but, the machine guns are also very, very varied in how strong they are, depending on what kind of machine gun they are. So the damage is overall very, very nice. It is definitely a strong point of machine guns. Now, on the other side of the machine gun spectrum, in terms of statistics, the portability is never really great, and it's understandable. You're carrying around a machine gun, you can't really expect to be running all that fast when you have a machine gun out, do you? So, machine gun portability has also been one of great variation, just like the assault rifles. The assault rifles, you have assault rifles that are slow as, say, the AK-47 that have only 55 portability, and then you've got those crazy epic weapons that have portabilities of 70 something, and it's ridiculous. Machine guns also kind of have that same variation, except it's on the bad side. Machine guns like the M2 Browning, even though they may be the most powerful machine gun in the game, they have a really bad portability at 10, so you'll be kind of walking like a snail. And that's one of the that's one of the main downsides of machine guns, is that they are not very portable at all. And this is a real downfall for machine guns because, because of their really limited portability, you can't feel like you can run around like John Rambo and mow people down. You could. There's no saying that you can't, but it is highly unlikely, and your efforts in trying to go Rambo is severely hampered by the fact that your portability just doesn't let you. It's very heavy. These things are very, very heavy, and simply put, you just can't go around spraying and praying like you would with the submachine gun, like a P90 RSC. So portability can range anywhere from 10 all the way up to maybe 30, 35. Machine guns rarely go above 30, like the 36 rating mark. I don't ever think that there's a machine gun that has over a 40 portability rating. I don't think a machine gun like that exists currently, but there you go. That's the portability. It's not very good, and you have to keep that in mind. When it comes to rate of fire, machine guns have, just like most other weapon categories, a rather limited spectrum. For machine guns, you've got rates of fire ratings that range anywhere from 72 to 80, and 80 being the faster firing machine guns, such as the MG42, the K3, and whatnot. So the machine guns do have their rates of fire, but compared to like the submachine guns or the assault rifles, well, they actually do have similar rates of fire ratings to the assault rifles, but nowhere near the rates of fire ratings on average to the submachine gun categories. Of course, submachine guns fire the fastest, but the machine guns, while the rates of fire aren't exactly bad, they don't have a lot of variation to them. And really, if you really want to see like distinct divisions within machine guns that show like which one fires faster, like very clearly, then the MG42 series would have to be the outlier family. But overall, you would think that most machine guns fire pretty similarly, actually, to be honest with you. So the rate of fire category, the machine gun family or the machine gun category, overall, it's not too spectacular. Let's put it like that. As for accuracies, this comes in with the fact that machine guns don't really have a very good accuracy. Um, Among all the weapon categories in the game, I really do believe that, with the exception of shotguns, of course, because they can't really have an accuracy, and it's not their fault. But among all the weapon categories in combat arms, the machine guns have the lowest accuracy ratings by far, and this ties in with the fact that their hipfire spreads are, correspondingly terrible. Their hipfire spreads are not that great. In fact, they're shitty. They have the largest standing and crouching spreads, default spreads, mind you, not just while moving around, of any weapon type in combat arms. That is also another reason why machine guns aren't necessarily viewed upon as very viable weapons, because they are just batshit inaccurate. That's the nature of machine guns in combat arms. They are not meant to be accurate because of the fact that they're very powerful on average and they have lots of ammunition to spare. And with machine guns, because their accuracy is on average are rather terrible, you really need to have a spray and pray mentality with machine guns. Either that, or you're gonna have to do some serious either suppressing fire work, or you're gonna have to do some serious stealth work to get around, to flank people, and then hose them. So either that, or the machine guns. If you try using machine guns any other way, it's not going to work out for you, because you're just going to get cut down. You can't compete with other guns in terms of accuracy. Of course, within this accuracy category, there are machine guns that have noticeably higher accuracy than do their other peers, despite what their statistics may say, and that comes in the form of how often do they hit their targets within their hipfire spreads. And I've noticed that, naturally, NX standard weapons seem to have a better hit rate while spraying than GP weapons. But if you're looking for a good GP weapon that has a very good accuracy, I would definitely recommend the MG21E. That thing seems to hit very, very frequently, and it is very effective in that regard. As for the recoil on machine guns are typically, of course, very heavy as well. Of course, this does vary from machine gun to machine gun. Like, you've got your low recoil machine guns, like the Mini-Me, what's another low recoil machine gun? I would have to venture out so far to say the MG36, and then of course you've got your heavy recoil machine guns such as the M2 Browning, the M60, the MK48. All those machine guns have very, very heavy recoil, and overall, you can argue that machine guns in general have very high recoil patterns and very high recoil profiles, because they are meant to be sprayed, and if you spray a gun for long enough, the recoil will eventually catch up to you. So that's another problem that the machine guns do have, is the fact that you need, no matter what kind of machine gun you're using, recoil will always be a factor. And this definitely downgrades their utility among combat arms users or combat arms players, because you don't want to think about recoil all the time. You want a gun that will kill fast, and in a time duration where you don't have to worry about the recoil. Unfortunately, machine guns don't have that luxury. They don't offer that benefit. So because of that, recoil is one of the factors that kind of jade machine guns away from players. Even despite all its negativities within its statistics, there are many pros that you can find in machine guns and combat arms. One of them, which is consistency. You can always expect combat arms to release machine guns that have 100 round drum fed or belt fed magazines with 100 in reserve, so ammunition will always be very consistent. There is only one caveat to this, and that is the Bren LMG, which is a forgeable light machine gun. I forget which gun you can forge it from, but it only has 30 rounds per magazine, while it has 180 rounds in reserve. So it's got a huge ammo count. Unfortunately, it only has 30 rounds per magazine, and the reload speed isn't necessarily that great either. But it is a unique machine gun in the fact that its ammunition style is very different, and I do believe the Bren is an accurate representation of the real life Bren that they used during World War II. So, in terms of historical accuracy, Nexon has respected the Bren and given it its 30-round magazine. But it'd be nice if we were allowed to put extended mags or something like that on it, because 30 rounds per magazine with a reload speed of that slow, it's not gonna work out for you. Other than consistency, it is also very great weapons for fire team. If you want to slay some zombies, machine guns are the way to do it. Because zombies are just NPCs. They're melee units. They're melee enemies, so they have to get near you in order to shoot you. And when that happens, you don't really need accuracy in order to shoot them. So you can just spray all the hell you want. So for fire team, what I like to do is get a modular backpack or utility backpack or whatever kind of backpack you can get, and you don't really need to worry about speed so much because the zombies are really slow. So you can, as long as you're not too slow, but you can afford to take like minus 5%, -3% for your troubles, and just stock up almost entirely on machine guns and pack 1 or 2 assault rifles in tow, just in case you run out of machine gun ammo and there's no red boxes for you to pick up. Because once you have that assault rifle, those yellow boxes drop very frequently, so you can go around picking those up. But those machine guns, depending on how much you have or how many you bring along with you, will last you a very, very long time. Just because of the fact that they have so much fucking ammo. Fire team zombies, it's imperative to bring as much ammunition as you can, and machine guns will do that for you very greatly. So for fire team, the fire team levels such as Cabin Fever, Black Lung, those fire teams, machine guns are fantastic. Among the other disadvantages of the machine guns and combat arms, the fact that their utility and modification are severely limited. If you want to try putting a suppressor on a machine gun, can't do it. If you want to try putting a sight on a machine gun, can't do it. Only extended mags. And due to the machine guns already huge ammo counts already, the equipping extended mags, the utility of that is just not there. Personally speaking, I do not see the point of putting extended mags on machine guns because you already have 100 fucking rounds in your gun. Why do you need more? It's just going to slow down your already not so great reload speed down even more. So extended mags isn't necessarily the most viable option. As for scopes, having scopes on machine guns is possible, but only if Nexon allows it, through specific weapons such as the MG36, the RPKS mod, RPK-74M, the Mini Para Camo, MK48 Mod O. Through those machine guns only can you get those scopes, to have scopes on your machine guns, which would make them infinitely better, but for some reason, Nexon does not allow us to. You can't put scopes on your machine guns. It's one of the many downfalls of the machine guns, because in combat arms, how the gameplay mechanics work is that you can't ADS if you don't have a scope. So you're limited to only your hip fire, and because machine guns and common arms have very poor hipfire spreads, you need to spray. And if they had scopes on them, they'd be a lot more accurate, but because of the fact you can't put scopes, well then, it's no wonder machine guns aren't very popular. Among the machine guns that I do recommend, if you are so inclined to use them, for GP users only who don't have access to NX, I highly recommend either the MG21E or the M60E4. I know that these are very high-ranking machine guns, but if you can't access those, if you don't have the rank required for them, then I do recommend either the M60, the MK48, or the RPK. All of those machine guns are very, very good in terms of GP, and they're relatively low ranking. If you have some NX to spare, and you're in the market for buying a few permanent machine guns, then I do definitely recommend all of these scoped NX standard machine guns, the MK48 Mod O, the MG36, the Mini Mipara. All those machine guns, just because of the simple fact that they have scopes equipped on them, make them infinitely better than the machine guns that do not. Of course, the scopeless machine guns are also very good as well. The M21E, the RPK-74, all those machine guns are also very, very great as well. In fact, I don't even think there's a single NX standard machine gun that's legitimately not very good. In fact, the MG42 Steel, I would have to say, is the most overpowered of all the NX standard machine guns, even though it doesn't have a scope, because it has extremely high damage, and also on top of that, extremely high rate of fire as well. So, I mean, if there was any one machine gun I would have to recommend, like I would urge you to get, it would either be the MG36 or the M21E or the MG42 Steel, because those things are crazy. And yeah, those are my gun recommendations. So at the end of the day, you're sitting here watching this video thinking, so is this guy telling me to use machine guns or not? Quite frankly, I do not advise you, I do not recommend using machine guns in pubs. If you're just playing a simple old elimination match, machine guns isn't exactly the great way to do it. Though you can make machine guns you can turn machine guns into a very good utility role, or a very utility role, or a very objective-minded role. You can camp flags in CTF with machine guns and make sure you can give your enemy some suppressant fire if they try making moves on the flag. With machine guns, people may not look upon them in a great light, but at least they have the decency to recognize that if someone has a machine gun, they're a very, very great threat, because of the fact that machine gun bullets are bound to be strong, and they're going to assume that you have a lot of ammo, and which in most cases is true. So you can very well play objectively with machine guns. It doesn't mean that you're going to be doing well in terms of your own score, but at least you'll be able to scare off enemies that way, because if you fire a couple shots, they'll know that you've got a machine gun in your hands. And for experienced players, those players will try to avoid you, or if they need to kill you, they'll try going for you first, because they understand that machine guns, even though they can't use it well themselves, if it's in someone else's hands, maybe they can use it well. Machine guns are always a dangerous thing, so they'll always make sure to know that. Of course, most people don't really recognize this fact, and they don't care anyway, but whatever. You've got a machine gun. You can spray people. How's that? And also, I've already mentioned this before, but MGs are obviously very useful for fire team. Mainly the zombie fire teams, Cabin Fever, and what was the other one called? Black Lung. How did I forget that? But also, if you guys are Nemexis HQ grinders like the noobs you are, you can always bring along machine guns. If you don't have the GP or the NX to spare to use on specs and miniguns and stuff like that, then you can always throw on like a couple backpacks. Well, not a couple, but you can throw on your modular backpack. You can throw on any sort of backpack and just pack machine guns, and that will do you very well as well. So, even on the Nemexis HQ, where specs usually dominate the game, machine guns can also do a very, very good job of that as well. In the end, machine guns have a very, very niche role to play. You need to understand that machine guns are not meant to be used John Rambo style. It's meant to be used very, very subjectively. If you want to use it in a particular situation, then go ahead. Mainly, it needs to be used in certain situations, and it's up to you to really recognize what kind of situations a machine gun would be used best. Narrow corridors, narrow choke points, and fire team, for objectives, for just pure old suppressant fire, good old suppressant fire. It's all up to you. You need to be the judge of where machine guns are used best. That does not mean running out there and spraying and praying like a little fucking idiot. If you do that, you're going to be cut down immediately and you're not going to get anything out of it. It's up to you to realize where machine guns are best. Figure out where you can utilize the machine gun's pros to the utmost optimal use, and spray away. That's how you need to use machine guns. They might not be the most powerful, or they could be, but they might not be the most popular weapons to use. Certainly that's the case because of all their cons and all their disadvantages in using them. But if you ignore those weaknesses and compensate for them by pressing the advantages that you have with a machine gun, then you'll be able to do a lot of work. My name is Agent Psycho, aka Toast Sniper 98, and if you haven't used a machine gun already, go try a machine gun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.